And the big raging debates are around seniority and tenure, which seem pretty trivial, again, in the context of the world that we're leading in and living in. So I think what Sebastian is offering is something that is imaginative, but most importantly, he's not just talking about taking a lecture and putting it online. He's talking about a whole new model of education that takes the latest in terms of how we learn and incorporates it into a new platform of engagement that arguably will make learning more interesting, meaningful, and as Sebastian points out, lifelong.
Breaking. Sebastian, you're not just paying lip service to this, you actually have something to announce.
Yeah, so today we put out a website and announced that we have an Open Education Alliance where a whole bunch of companies have worked with in the past, new companies are working with us, and also I guess Khan Academy joined us and we talked to more educational outlets. And the idea is to, we got a lot of inquiries from industry to say, look, what our students that we graduate and come in are able to do is this, and what we want them to do is this thing over here. So can we participate in the creation of curriculum for higher education? And historically that's been hard with universities because there's all kinds of conflicts between academia and industry. So we just said this alliance is going to put industry first, it's going to put workforce first. So if you want to get a job at Google, want to get a job at NVIDIA, or a job at Autodesk, a job at Cloudera, what have you, come to us, and that's where you can learn the skills necessary. And we work with those companies to curate those skills and keep them up to date, so at any point in time, you can understand what the right skills are. We decided not just to make it a Udacity product, we decided to make it an industry-wide offering, so we can really get multiple education providers involved and multiple companies involved. In fact, we're soon going to open up to a much broader set of companies to access our student CVs and so on. And I think what is hopefully going to be a bit of a platform to think about education in the 21st century. Like what is really needed in the workforce, what skills you need to find a job. And then it's not just us you can come to, it's anybody you can come to, and anybody should compete for building the best education product to really serve our workforce needs and our employment needs.
So at Google University, but sort of like the UC system, so a Khan Academy course would count as an Udacity course?
Yeah, I think if you call it Google University, my friends at Google get very nervous and so on. It's called an industry-wide alliance. It's called a non-branded open education alliance, so anybody's invited to join.
See, I love this. If this doesn't wake up the UC, CSU, and community colleges, I don't know what does. When we talk about it, I chair the Economic Development Commission in the state. I won't give you my economic development speech. I'll save you from that. But you all know this. It's two Californias, not north and south. It's now coastal California and inland California. I left this morning from Marin County. In the July unemployment numbers, we'll get the new ones very soon, but 5.3 unemployment rate, 5.3%. You're down in Imperial County right now, 26.1% unemployment. We have a state with the fourth highest unemployment in the United States and hundreds of thousands of open jobs right now that we can't fill. And we have a system of higher learning that was designed over half a century ago for a world that no longer exists. And you know what the conversation was when the master plan was conceived? The conversation that Sebastian's been having with the private sector, but we're not having that conversation anymore. What do you need in all these companies? What does Salesforce.com need? What does Google need? What does all of Twitter, all these companies need? And are we conveying enough of that talent? The answer is clearly we're not. So you can't continue to do what you've done. We've got to radically alter our approach and start addressing this need. And so if it takes Sebastian on the outside to put some pressure on all of us on the inside, I say bring it on. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I'm very encouraged by his hard work and most importantly, I'm very enthusiastic about the next phase of his announcement as he scales this at a much larger level.
But
look at this number, by the way.
Hasn't always been successful. What happened in San Jose State?
Well, first of all, the key to innovation, as everybody in the room knows, is fast iteration. Like try it out and learn from it. And try out again and learn from it. Now, the San Jose State thing has been in the news quite a bit, positively and negatively. Obviously, we opened with a big fanfare. And then our first set of numbers didn't look the same way on-campus numbers would look like. So our graduation rates were lower. It was largely an effect of involving inner-city high school kids. We talked to Gavin, we talked to Governor Brown and many others. He said, look, there's a real need in California to get high school kids a chance. Most inner-city high school kids don't have access to, say, computer science education. we took this big hit that in the end, most of these kids weren't quite as prepared as a normal college students. And that was spun against us, understandably. I mean, California Faculty Association, which is the big union of the CSU, has the job of making sure that it's appropriately funded and education is appropriately funded. And with this big funding crisis going on, discussion going on, that Gavin mentioned just a second ago, there's this big question: should we tell the governor, the lieutenant governor, that there might be an alternative path or not? And obviously, any moment of there might be an alternative path to education than, say, regular on-campus education could be construed as a threat. We see the result of this, to be honest. But I actually think that in response to this is, look, this is not about replacing or changing on-campus education. I'm actually a big fan of on-campus, and if I can ask Gavin to please increase the funds for both this UC and CSU system, please do it, and the community college system, absolutely no question, education is extremely important. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't stop innovating. It doesn't mean we should leave people out. There's many different paths in the world. San Jose State, for example, in the most recent round, over 90% of the students that came were out-of-state students and that weren't even the CSU system. So we're actually reaching people in the entire world. Now, San Jose State, this little tiny university in Silicon Valley, can now go out and teach people in all countries for credit. That to me is a big success story.
Look, I mean, life is circulinear, it's not linear. We're on a journey here. This is just the first phase. So people are quick to jump on this early example, but there's been, we've been doing interesting, and this is just an interesting fact, we've been doing online education at the UC since the 90s, late 90s, just hasn't got a lot of attention. What's getting a lot of attention are these MOOCs, these massive online courses that Sebastian, Coursera, edX, and others are engaging in. And so like anything that's new, there's going to be breakthroughs, there's going to be some setbacks, but you have to be open argument, you can't be ideological. And as Sebastian says, as that great book Built to Last reminded us, it's the genius of and, not the tyranny of or. It's having that robust, interactive campus environment and the opportunity to rewind Sebastian when you get home or fast forward him because of your unique status as a student. Your world is unique, your expression is unique. It's not mass education anymore. It's individualized, it's personalized. Everyone learns differently. And as a consequence of this technology, we're able to bring those disciplines and that opportunity into a classroom and scale it to not just 20, 200, not just 20,000, but hundreds of thousands of people that are desperate for the opportunities to take advantage of this world.
10 years from now, are your kids, your toddlers, going to go to Udacity instead of Stanford?
What are yours?
Well, you got a 5-year-old that is I hope they're enrolled.
Yeah, I hope they're going to save myself the college money.
I'll tell you,
something else, maybe a fast car.
I've got a 3.5-year-old daughter that still runs up to the TV and doesn't know why it doesn't do this. You can't educate my daughter like I was educated. I thought she was a prodigy when she was 1, just watching her on the smartphone. She went on, I think it was a Vanity Fair magazine once in the house, that she didn't understand why the top of the magazine didn't flip. So there's no capacity to continue to do what we've done. There's all that is continue to do what you've done, you'll get what you've got. Not in this world. Continue to do what you've done, you'll fall behind because that global average is rising. So we've got to get serious about this.
I agree.
And that's why I'm here with Sebastian.
It's really important to be creative about this. If we were to reinvent education today, we would really force every student in the classroom to go exactly at the same pace, think exactly the same thought at the same time, almost like an industry of drones the way we educate today. Or would we go back and do what Sal Khan does so really well, which is give the kids to go at their own speed. For high school, for K-12, he's shown that C-level math students can get to an A-level just by giving their own speed of progress. And if you spin this a little bit further, why wouldn't education be as much fun as video games? Right? So we have a Google class, for example, in HTML5, we launched our second on mobile web development, and people there build games in HTML5 and compete for prizes as part of the class experience. It's as much fun as anything. Why shouldn't education be fun? Why do you have so many teenagers that walk away from education thinking that it's boring? I think there's a lot of old-fashioned things we can perpetuate. We come from a world that was not digital, not interactive, not online, and we try to retain it. I think we should be creative.
Amen. I mean, I know my species. I'm a politician. So you hear people like me say this all the time. I happen to legitimately think this is one of the most important topics of conversation that we must be having, not just here in California, across this country and around the world. This is, as I said, code red. And we've got to wake up to this remarkable world all of you have created around us, and the one that you're creating day in and day out. And our educational system is, I mean, it reminds me a bit of Kodak. You think you're doing fine, your quarterly reports come out, and the world you invented now is competing against you. And it's competing at a rate and speed that we've got to wake up, or we'll end up, I think, down that same path.
Are you comparing your
I don't like that comparison.
to
Just scrub that. No, I'm not. I mean, look, I love the UC and the CSU. I'm proud to be on. No finer institution of higher learning in the world, public institution of learning in the world. But we can be so much more. But we've got to be willing to invest in our lead. If you don't invest in the future, you're not going to do very well there. We've got to invest.
And I want to put in the pitch for the many entrepreneurs out here who do amazing stuff like Code Academy and Code.org. There's a whole bunch of wonderful activities that I think will really shape the future. And that activity, I think, is really important for us going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.